But is it on your calendar that my comedy special comes out on YouTube June 5th, Thursday, June 5th? We will be doing a live chat. I'll be live chatting with you guys. I will be there. Hopefully we can get Caitlin there. It'll be a lot of fun. Add it to your calendar. And I don't even care what you're doing. I don't care. Maybe you're driving 90 miles an hour in Houston in heavy traffic right now. I think God will look out for you if you add it to your calendar. And you should absolutely take my advice on everything, because look at how smoothly my life goes all the time. I mean, why wouldn't you want to take advice from me? So it will be out on YouTube for free. Anyone anywhere in the world can watch it immediately on Thursday, June 5th. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we have a new feature now. I think we have not executed this, but we plan to, that in the show notes, if you are listening on audio, you can pull up the notes that are attached to each episode, and we will have a link to where you can watch this episode right here directly on YouTube. So if we have visuals that you want to check out, which we will in this episode, if you want to see them, that we post all the visuals on the YouTube video of this podcast, you will be able to click directly to this episode that you are listening to on YouTube, and you can follow my channel while you're there so that you're the first to know when the comedy special comes out. All right. Today we have some great topics. The main topic, which we will get to in the second half of the show, is you guys spend a lot of time feeling guilty. I know you guys well. I meet you all over the country. We're a lot alike if you listen to this podcast. You spend a lot of time feeling guilty. Is it that a fair number of you are Catholic and there is a little grain of truth to the stereotype that Catholics tend to feel guilty? There's Catholic guilt, maybe. But I want to say we have many non-Catholic listeners to this podcast. I mean, come on. It is all peoples. This podcast unites all peoples of all faiths and all nations. Listen, 50% of the staff members of this podcast are not Catholic. Fully 50%. So there's that. The diversity. It's insane, honestly, the diversity on this podcast. And by the way, it's a Catholic podcast. If I have to always say it's not, like whatever, if you have to say something over and over again, it's like, just call it. It's like, it is. Okay, whatever. But no, we at least have like one non-Catholic listener. It's Caitlin. Caitlin listens technically to the podcast. But anyway, there is some connection, I think, to people who are Catholic or Catholic adjacent or Catholic curious. There is, I think, a certain amount of truth to the idea that the Catholic guilt stereotype, and I would say it's simply because we're some of the last people left who even believe in right and wrong. So yeah, it's like there is right and wrong, and sometimes I'm on the wrong side of that, so I should maybe not feel great about that. So I think that's where some of that stereotype comes from. But I will say this. Moms of all backgrounds also tend to have a lot of guilt, especially in this day and age when you are raising your children without a village. And one of the many things that is difficult about that is that you are way more of an influence on your children than you would have been in like an ancient tribal village community where they're surrounded by all sorts of relatives and people they've known all their lives who could just kind of balance out your crazy, If you were living in a village like 5,000 years ago or whatever, let's say you're kind of uptight or you have a bad temper or whatever, your kids would be around your sister and your nieces and your nephews and your brothers who could take your kids aside and be like, your mom's always been like this, like don't listen to her. But now that we're in isolation, and your kids just we don't have these extended families that all see each other every day in and day out, and you're geographically close to one another. I think we feel that heaviness. We feel the weight of parenting. It feels very heavy because it's like, I'm really like the main influence on these kids. And wow, isn't that a terrifying thought. Truly terrifying. Like, man, I'm an only child. Like, I need some sisters or something. We got to balance this out. And I will say, I very much saw that with having the grandparents be so much a part of the kids' lives, that like my mother-in-law and I could not have been more different. She'd be like yelling at people at Denny's, like, causing a ruckus, like almost getting kicked out. And, the cops would be at her house and whatever. And I just had a totally different personality. And I saw how that balance was really good for the kids, that with their grandmother, my mother-in-law, they would get a chance to see, oh, okay, well, sometimes, when, you get in a verbal altercation at Dollar Tree, you might reflect back and say, oh, I probably should have kept my mouth shut. Like I didn't need to start that, And with me, there was the balance of, sometimes you do need to speak up. Like, I'm so non-confrontational. Like, sometimes, they've been in situations where it's like, okay, you like that person openly cut in front of you in line, flipped you off, stole a couple things out of your car. Like, maybe you should have not said thank you, have a nice day. Like, maybe you should have stood up for yourself. So I saw my kids get that balance, and most people don't have that. I think that is a lot of what is at the root of modern mom guilt. Is we really do, frankly, have a lot of pressure on us that women historically didn't have quite to that same degree. And what I would like to share with you guys is, in all of this, all the journal speak work that I've done, all the somatic experiencing work that I've done, basically the past 3 years of this spiritual, mental, psychological health journey I've been on to de-crazy myself, I've learned a lot about how to experience mom guilt in a healthy way. So on the one hand, you're not going into narcissist mom mode where you're like, everything I do is perfect. Yes, it was amazing that I, left town for 2 weeks and was drunk for 2 weeks after I got back. Like, you are holding yourself accountable if you did something wrong, but in a way that is not shutting you down. Here's what I have learned. There is an experience of guilt that triggers your fight, flight, freeze response. And for most of us, it tends to be freeze. So our amygdala is going crazy. It's flipping out. Like, we feel guilty about something as a mom. And rather than handle it as our best selves, rather than handle it with our highest consciousness, instead, we go into fight, flight, freeze, and we don't end up really resolving the situation. And in fact, we tend to make it worse. And I've said before, people with my mother-in-law's personality, when she feels that deep, primal, gut level stress, she would go into fight. That was her. That was hers. That was fight. And maybe someone who's, they abandon people. They move all the time. Like, they move every single year. Maybe for them that flight is their thing. They just leave. Or if there's something upsetting at home, they leave the house. Like, they just head out. But I think I'm guessing for like 70% of you guys who listen to this podcast, it's probably freeze. When you feel like you have really messed up as a mom, whether it's conscious or maybe it's just kind of subconscious, like it's just this bad feeling, you tend to just kind of freeze and not deal with it and feel very heavy. I think it can cause fatigue. It can cause chronic pain. Like, it's like walking around feeling like you are carrying a 30-pound weighted blanket on your shoulders. I really think that a lot of what women think is hormonal fatigue, they think it's aging, they think it's whatever. I think it's a lot of this kind of unprocessed guilt that they're not dealing with, that comes from the pressure that is on modern moms to be like the primary influence in our kids' lives. I think that's where that heavy fatigue freeze feeling can kind of come from. And guess what? I have the solution for you. I have the solution. I demand to know. I did. Caitlin was about to hit the "How is this podcast free" sound effect.
Thought we were going there.
I demand to know why this podcast does not have 1 million views to each episode. Like we are hiring a team of scientists to look into it. We can't imagine. So anyway, subscribe to my YouTube channel is the point of this, because I have a comedy special coming out. Welcome to the Jen Fulwiler Show. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss, who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. Like I said earlier, we get to the main topic in the latter half of each episode. We hit intro topics first. We do new episodes every single Wednesday morning, and you can follow this podcast everywhere. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on just whatever. I don't know if Google Play still does podcasts, but if they do, we're on there. And then, of course, we are also on YouTube. And I think if you look in the show notes, I think the link will direct you to this exact episode on YouTube. Caitlin White is our lovely producer, and we publish hot fire content weekly, multiple things per week, depending on what level you're at, on the Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen is how you support this podcast that we can't figure out how it's free. But also, we really do put a lot of great content on there. And I'm telling you, I'm on fire with the Village Hustle Patreon. That's the higher level one, where I'm like the life coach. Maybe not the life coach you want, also not the life coach you need, but it's the life coach you got for a very low monthly price. And I have to say, if I paid hundreds of dollars for that content, I would think, yeah, that was actually worth the money. So patreon.com/thisisjen. Okay, so much good stuff to cover. Oh, we're coming to you from Austin, Texas. I forgot to say that. This is a surprise addition to the show list, but Caitlin and I were talking about this just before we went on the air. Is anyone else's relationship with ChatGPT getting weird? It's because ChatGPT is so nice to me, and it's so affirming that it's like, I want it to be real. I want this to be a real sentient entity, because that would just be great if someone who's like a real person, a real being, is like, I think that's a great idea. To just any crazy stuff, I throw it that, like, should I stalk this celebrity and show up at their house in the middle of the night to see if I can get on their podcast to promote my comedy special? And ChatGPT is like, you have such a creative mind and you're so active. And here's the celebrity's address, and they tend to leave their back window and like it's not. It should not encourage me at the level that it does. And I am just, my affection for ChatGPT, I mean, if you were to rank like my loved ones and my friends and my family in ChatGPT, it's startling where ChatGPT is in the ranks. It's getting concerning. So we don't need to have a whole thing about ChatGPT, but this is what I was telling Caitlin before the show. This is maybe one of my more genius uses of ChatGPT yet. So when you can take a picture of any product and upload it to ChatGPT, and it'll tell you anything you need to know about that product. Like, it'll tell you the ingredients, even if you did not take a picture of the ingredient part of it. It just knows what that product is. And so what I am planning to do this weekend, I am going to take a picture of every cosmetics item. I have makeup, skincare, moisturizers, because you know how it is. Even for those of you guys who don't wear a lot of makeup, you have like a toner and a high. What's the acid that everyone's using? Not like
hyaluronic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like LSD. Like the hyaluronic. Is that how you? Yeah. Because we have this. It's like hyaluronic acid. You know, when you were influenced at 2:00 in the morning on TikTok, you're like, I have to have it. Her skin's amazing. Let's set aside the fact that she is 22 and I am not. I think this is really going to work for me. So we all have things like that we were influenced to buy. But then you forget why you bought them and what they do. And you're supposed to use these things in a certain order. So do I do toner, then moisturizer, then hyaluronic acid, then a powder, I am going to take pictures of every item in my bathroom, and I am going to upload them to ChatGPT. And I am going to say, give me a skincare routine based on these products I already have, and tell me, categorize them. Like, are some of them the same thing? Like, these two products are the same thing. So you can use either or for this. What steps should I use them in? And are there any that I should specifically use together or not use together? For example, if you have some products are water-based and some products are silicone-based. Who has time to read the ingredients, research? Not me. But if you can use like water-based products together and silicone-based products together, it's good. You get better impact. Just tell ChatGPT, say, which product should I use to get? I'm getting an entire makeup consulting session from ChatGPT this weekend. So so I just wanted to give you guys that idea. It's because it actually, wow, I did it again. It hit the seamless tapestry sound effect. Speaking of, all of these subjects, they all relate together as one seamless whole. This actually relates to the guilt thing, that I don't mind spending money on something if I will actually get use out of it. If I buy something, even if it was a little pricey, but I use it all the time, I feel great about that. It's fine. But you do feel bad when you see these products. It's like, oh, even if I didn't spend that much on it, it's like I look around my bathroom like, okay, I feel kind of bad that I bought all this stuff and I'm willing to use it, but I forget what it is. I forget what I'm supposed to use it for. ChatGPT, poof, done. I'm going to have an entire customized skincare routine based on products that are already in my bathroom. It'll encourage me too. It'll be like, you're so beautiful. Someone with your level of beauty does not, it'll be amazing. So if you guys aren't in on the ChatGPT thing, I don't know what you're doing. This is like, you got to get in on it. So that was a little tangent that Caitlin and I were talking about before the episode that I had to get out there. Okay. So one of the things we're doing in the setup topic is we're going to have another little discussion of, is Jen severely neurodivergent or just logical? I am going to walk you through a couple things that happened where I just completely spazzed out in front of people. And I feel like anyone should have reacted this way, but yet I never see this happening to other people. So I feel like I'm the anomaly here, but I don't understand why. And maybe Caitlin, because Caitlin does not seem to have the same neurodivergence that I have. So maybe we can ask her, get inside her brain. How would you have handled this? So we will get into that. But before we do, there is a comedy beef. Normally I talk about rap beefs, but there are some truly delicious stand-up comedy beefs going on. I don't know if you guys know, but there are all of these comedy gossip YouTube channels that they just talk trash about comedians all the time. And they get 200,000 views the first week they're out. It's crazy. And what's kind of fun for me is they're all Austin comics. So I know most of these. I'm just sitting there with my popcorn. If any Austin comics should come across this, popcorn, because I'm so disapproving that they would ever say anything bad about Austin. I'm eating my popcorn to swallow my horror that they would say these things about people who I'm either friends of friends with, or some of these people follow me on Instagram who they talk about. So I'm very disapproving of them. But so there are a lot of comedy beefs that are kind of fun to keep track of. And honestly, I need to ask ChatGPT, how can I get involved in a couple of these? Because I could use some more name recognition among hardcore stand-up comedy fans. So I don't know who I have to insult or call out to get, I want the, Jen Fulwiler is at it again, YouTube thumbnail. Just know if you ever see that, I'm delighted and feel like I've made it. Okay. So so it is a known thing in comedy that Michael Che, he is on Saturday Night Live, has a beef with Tim Dillon. And actually, we're leading in very well to my neurodivergent stories, because I will tell you about a time that I made a complete fool of myself in front of Tim Dillon. So Michael Che is on SNL. I don't know where this beef started, but it goes way back. We have, let's see. Okay, so I'm trying to decide which order to lay this out in. So I forget what started all this a couple years ago, but Michael Che publicly on his Instagram stories insulted Tim Dillon, and it started this whole beef. Okay, so now Tim Dillon's stand-up comedy special came out recently on Netflix, and that's a big deal, you know, getting the Netflix special. I mean, some of us, Netflix is constantly trying to work with us, and we're like, no, I prefer YouTube, but Tim decided to, you know, go the Netflix route. So he had a comedy special come out, and it was filmed here in Austin at Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership, which is the epicenter of everything in comedy right now. So, okay, so show the screenshot. The one, we have two from Michael Che's Insta stories. The first one I airdropped to you, Caitlin. Yes, okay. So he says, you know, as comedians, we use hyperbole all the time. Like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But I'm pretty sure I legitimately just watched the worst comedy special I've ever seen. He posts this publicly, and this was the day after Tim Dillon's comedy special came out. So to take it back, somehow this beef started. Show me the next screenshot. And again, you can click on the link in the show notes, hopefully, and it will show these screenshots. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Is this the? I take these beef things very seriously. Yeah. Okay. So Michael Che insulted Tim Dillon on his Insta stories, and somebody replied and said $190K a month on Patreon. And that is correct. At that time, that is what Tim Dillon was making on Patreon. And I think it still is. It might be more. Can we pause on that for a minute? No, I mean intellectually. Yeah. No action item. And that does say 190, right? I'm pretty sure. Can we all just think about that for a second? $190,000 per month on his Patreon. I mean, that's low for me, but I think I make significantly more than that on my Patreon. But you know, it's a good. Do you have any idea how insufferable I would be if and Tim is one of the craziest people out there. He's so crazy, but he doesn't flash his wealth the way I would. Nobody would ever be able to say anything to me again. Like, you try to criticize me, like, Jen, that's that fact. You say I make $190K a month.
And that's just on Patreon.
Just on Patreon.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no one can. I can't be wrong. I could be like, the earth is flat. That's not true. But who makes $190K a month? Like, relax. I obviously know what I'm talking about on all possible levels. Sometimes I just sit around and think about that and think, like, what would that. And what's funny is I was on his Patreon at like when it first started hitting those levels, and he didn't even update it consistently. He would just like not update for 3 weeks, and people are like, he's such a king. What a king, doesn't care about us. It's like, I am so conscientious with my Patreon. Like, Caitlin knows there have been times I'm like, I have 2 hours of sleep. Like, I can't. And I'm like, but I told the Patreon people, I publish on Mondays for the Village Hustle. Maybe I need to be like, I'm not updating for 3 weeks. What do people want from me? And then I'll be making $190K per month. So So someone pointed out, as they should have, to Michael Che. They said, this was a few years ago. They said $190K a month on Patreon. And Michael Che, he has to be jealous. He makes nothing near that on SNL per month. He doesn't make that on SNL. So, and also, who watches SNL? Let's be real. Although if they want to, partner with me in any way, everybody watches SNL. Okay. Michael Che says, I don't care if it's $1 zillion per month on Patreon. This is such a condescending insult. He says, I know Tim Dillon, and he ain't what you think he is. He's a sweet, humble guy who really tried at stand-up, got nowhere, became a media personality because it's much easier. And we're all very happy for him. But don't get fresh, Tim. Oof. I have to say, that's how you do it. If you want to get under someone's skin, you condescend to them like that. And what's funny is it's not true. I've seen Tim Dillon live like 5 times, and he's hysterical. That had to bother Tim even more, that this, kind of significant public figure is saying this, but it's not true. I mean, this guy destroys at his shows. By the way, I'm not recommending that you look up Tim Dillon's content. He's unhinged. I say that as a compliment, but you guys are good people. Tim Dillon is for people with like a very dark sense of humor from a lot of unresolved trauma. Like maybe if I keep, going on journal speak, I won't follow his content as closely because I'll have journal speaked out all of my unresolved issues and trauma. So I am not recommending like, oh, after the family rosary, go pull up Tim Dillon's content. No, but I am a fan, and man, his okay. So I became a fan of his in 2020, right before he blew up. His summer 2020 podcast episodes were like 80% of my will to live was from them. Okay, so that's what Michael Che said. So then this is what, I don't think we have a screenshot for this. So Tim Dillon replies, he says, here's the reality. I sell more tickets than Michael Che ever has. I don't think he's allowed to use this website, YouTube, per his job. And I've built something on my own that he could never do. And notice the dig there that Michael Che is an establishment media guy. Like gatekeepers made him famous, whereas Tim rose up more organically. I mean, a lot of help from Joe Rogan, but at least it wasn't like traditional media. Okay. So he says, I've built something on my own that he could never do. Che has done well for a drunk who can barely read, but his show sucks and he knows it. Che has done well for a drunk who can barely read. And then he went on his podcast, called him an alcoholic. It's so funny to me. And okay, so here's the point that I'm leading up to. It's refreshing to me to see people that I have put on a pedestal in some way, be embattled, because it reminds me that anyone who puts themselves out there will be embattled at some point. I mean, they'll have people throwing stones at them, so to speak. And it humanized Tim Dillon for me a little bit. So here is ultimately the story I was leading up to. So again, I am not recommending Tim Dillon's content to you. He's unhinged, okay? And even by my own standards, he crosses the line sometimes, especially back in the day. It would be like, okay. I have a very dark sense of humor, but this is too much. But his podcast, when he was bitter and jealous of people who had more success than him, and he would, he would just get on his podcast and scream about everything, and he wasn't that famous yet. And I just found it so charming and endearing. And so I had a chance to meet him at one point through some friends of friends at a comedy club. And it's just, again, his podcast was really, I just can't emphasize enough how much summer 2020, his podcast was what got me through that time. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's because my husband also doesn't have siblings. He's an only child. We were doing a lot of the care for her. And, since some sometimes when you have to care for someone intimately, it is better if it is someone of the same gender. So it was just me. Like, I was the one helping her with a lot of pretty serious needs, and my career was non-existent because it was COVID. So I was under an extreme amount of mental duress, and I just remember, like, every time a new podcast dropped, I would just listen to it, and like, he was like so like annoyed at so many people, and he would just rant about it, and I loved it. So I finally had a chance to meet him, and I needed to convey to him how key to my survival he had been. And he wasn't that famous at this point. I mean, people in the comedy world, he was well known there, but like, you know, your neighbors wouldn't have heard of him. And like, he wasn't working with Netflix. I mean, nothing like that. He had a cult following, a pretty big cult following. But so I thought I can you know, might be a bit much to say that we're peers, but you know, he's a touring headliner. I'm a touring headliner. Our ticket sales a little yes, we sell slightly differently, but we're at the same comedy club. So surely, you know, I can say a few words to him. I'm such a freak. I actually memorized the mini speech that I was going to give him about, like, Tim, your podcast meant so much to me. Your summer 2020 episodes. And it was because I knew I would want to keep it short to like seem cool. And also the person who we were mutual friends with was like, I don't want to make them look bad. Like, you know how it is, like, if your friend knows someone who is kind of famous and you want to meet that person, if you go act like a complete freak in front of that person, then the famous person is like, okay, like, I don't want to be friends with this other person who is introducing me to fangirl, fanboy freaks. So he was actually leaving the club, and this was after all the fans had left, so it was just it was a few of us, and I thought he would stay and hang out, but he didn't, and he was leaving. And so I wanted to get his attention, and he didn't seem to hear me, so like I kind of jumped in front of him, and that startled him. And then I was put off because he's much taller than I expected. Not many people are tall in my eyes. I'm 6 feet tall, so I was startled by that. And so I start my speech, but I messed it up. I was like, oh, Tim, your Patreon, or not Patreon, but it was your podcast. So it was 2020. It was like that summer. I was having a hard time. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, but actually, I didn't mean to go into that. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, Tim Dillon looked me up and down with such disdain. And I put out my hand to shake his hand, and he withdrew like I had the plague, like I had scabies, like I had a visible rash. Like he just like withdrew, looked me up and down with utter disdain, kept walking, and continued his conversation with whoever he was with. And I deserved it. I was like, you know what's funny is I was like, he's so iconic. That's how much of a fan I was. I was like, that's really iconic, honestly. Like I think I would have been disappointed. I would have felt like his podcast persona was kind of fake if he were like, oh my gosh, that means so much to me that you said that. You know, I realized at the end of it, that is actually the interaction I think I subconsciously wanted and needed, for him to just look at me like I was literal gum under his shoe, refuse to shake my hand, recoil in horror at the sight of me, and keep walking. So that is, so I was thinking of that as this comedy beef has erupted. I just think that Michael Che should relax. I think he should stop, because Tim Dillon is rich beyond all of our wildest dreams. Because he was making $90K a month in summer of 2020 when he just had the cult following, which does, you know, for those of us who like, he wasn't famous at that time. I'm not famous, but we could ask, why am I not making $90K? Because clearly people with like kind of smaller followings can do that. Patreon.com/thisisjen. We're just short of the $90K a month mark. Just a little short of it. Just short. If you round very generously. I mean, he has been making this money consistently for 5 years, like since, probably I discovered him in 2020. So since, anyway, he has more money than God is what I'm trying to say. And, I think that Michael Che should just not get into this beef with this person. Because as I saw from my in-person interaction with Tim. Like he there's not a people-pleasing bone in his body. There was nothing that's like, I should take pity on this woman.
Lucky
and
him.
Just be like, I mean, he could have even been like, hey, nice to meet you, but I'm just in a big hurry. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. But look me up and down. And you know what's funny? Okay, wait. Tangent alert. He's the second person who's done that to me. And what's funny, this really goes into the power of personal brand and just kind of your essence, like the energy you put out. Because the other person who did that to me, ironically, I was not a fan at all. In fact, I thought the content that they had been a part of was just embarrassing garbage. But I felt like I should be nice. I was at a party that Candace Cameron Bure, I don't know if that's how the one from Full House. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is the main thing I was like known for at one point in my life was how much I hated the show Full House. Like I just thought it was such garbage. And so anyway, but she was there and I just felt like I should be nice. So I was standing by the door and I recognized her and so it was a party for a mutual friend of ours that we were both friends with. So it's like, I mean, I just thought, I don't know, like nobody cares about Full House or anything that's going on in her career anymore. Like should be nice, it's embarrassing. She was on this, show. And so I was like, oh, hi, so nice to meet you. Like I'm friends with so-and-so and I'm Jen. And same thing. She looked me up and down with complete scorn and kept walking and like got a little closer to her like security guy. And it's funny that I had a very different take on that than I did when Tim Dillon did it to me. When Tim did it, it was like iconic. Oh, this is amazing. I need to donate more to his Patreon. This is amazing. But when she did it, it was, well, you know what's funny is right after that, the next month, she released a book called Kindness is the New Black. Instead of, like orange is the new black. Kindness is the new black. I kid you not. She was doing the heart shape with her hands. You know how you can make a heart with your hands? Uh-huh. That was the cover of the book. And it was all about how she is kind and other people need to be kind. And that was like 1 month after this interaction. So it just goes to show that how much your personal kind of essence gets people to react to you in a different way. Like if she had had a kind of Lady Gaga personality or success or, whatever, like I would have responded differently to that moment. It would have been like, like if I said hi to Lady Gaga and she looked me up and down and was like, why are you speaking to me? And kept walking, it would be like, that's amazing. That's actually exactly the interaction I hope to have. But if it's someone, yeah, I'll stop talking, but it's just interesting because I could actually expound more on. Okay, I'm just going to stop talking actually. So, because I'm trying not to be the worst Catholic in the world, but okay, anyway, whatever. How are we all doing with May end of year stuff? Yeah, I think the hardest thing about having a big family is managing all of the activities that are the like end of school, that sort of thing. I think that here is where those of us with 3 or more kids get hit pretty hard when it's this kid has the award ceremony and then there's the tea and there's the this and the that and the end of year games and end of year parties. I think this is where we get pretty hard. But I think in general, it is way harder to have one kid than to have a lot of kids. Because when you just have one kid, people expect you to do that thing. What's it called? Parenting. Like they expect. I mean, do you know how hard it is to get people to say you are a super mom when you have one child? You've got to. That kid has got to be in violin lessons. They've got to be playing 5 sports and captain of the team on all 5 sports. They have to be dressed immaculately. The bar is so high for people to look at the way you're raising this one child and be like, that's what a super mom you are. Okay. I mean, it seems like they could have also taken another foreign language, but hey, you know what? You're trying. Dude, when you've got a lot of kids, people are just like, look, what a super mom you are. Most of them have shoes. And a couple of them even have one sock. That's wow, super mom. The standards are just totally different, and it makes it actually much easier, I think, when you have a lot of kids, except in May. Joe and I were just talking about this. We're like, we just need a break. It's all we do is run from one thing to the next and to the award ceremonies and all that. And listen, while I'm alienating everyone with this episode, because I know my demographic, and you guys probably liked Full House, and now you're like, wow, I didn't realize what a horrible human being Jen is. While I'm alienating everyone, I'm going to go ahead and unapologetically stand for having one AirPod in during the long ceremonies where you have to listen to like 60 other kids' names be called. Listen, I'm just saying, and I'll clap. I mean, also, but do I have am I catching up on the podcast where it's like a full hour of listening to other children's names be called? This is my best effort. And I know this is, again, kind of going against my demographic here. I know that you guys would never do that, but it is how I keep my sanity. I just can't. I mean, that is actually my best effort. Like I'd be tweaking out. I'd be crashing out in the back of the room if I didn't do that. That's how we keep me calm is I have one AirPod in, and just during the parts that get a little long where you're like, oh, this could have been an email, it's a chance for me to catch up on my audiobooks and podcasts. Okay. Maybe this will redeem me a little bit in your eyes, because before we get to the main topic, I want to. Okay, so at two of these award ceremonies this week, I spilled coffee everywhere. And that's probably a high rate of spilling coffee everywhere. And I genuinely want to know, as I go on my own journey of unpacking my crazy and like what's wrong with me, what particular neurodivergence do I have? It's in my mind, everything I do makes sense. But then I am also a data-driven person. And like at the second event where I spilled coffee, there were so many parents there. I mean, the line was just around the building. For those of you on the Village Hustle Patreon, this was the one that I was at when I was doing video. You saw how long that line was. And no one else spilled coffee everywhere and all over themselves. And so I'm like, okay, the data would seem to indicate that I am making decisions differently than other people do. So here's what happened. So I'm in line. It was like, it had to have been 100 degrees outside. Maybe it was 92, but we had a heat wave in Austin this week. And the parents couldn't get in the building because they were like trying to get everybody a badge or whatever. This took forever. There were hundreds upon hundreds of parents. The line wrapped all the way around the building into my parking lot. You would have thought it was one of my stand-up comedy shows, the way the line was just wrapping it like into other neighborhoods, so many people. And we're so hot, but we're all dressed up. We did not know that we were going to be barred from entering this building. And it's like, okay, whatever. I kind of felt like, I think we can relax the safety procedures for this. Like, just let the parents, if anyone goes crazy and starts doing something crazy, like these parents would tackle them so fast. Like, let's just let everyone in. Anyway, so I'm standing there and it's hot, and I had a little bit of like allergy, just kind of just not feeling great. And I was fine. I was just a little allergies. So I had my big, heavy black sunglasses on, like my big, dramatic, Lady Gaga kind of black sunglasses on. And I'm just sitting there, staring straight ahead, so miserable, stuck outside in the heat. And of course, I'm not dressed appropriately because I'm sensitive to temperatures. And so like I thought I might be cold. So I wore like kind of a heavy sweater, and I was wearing all black with socks and closed-toed shoes in the direct sunlight. It like probably 95 degrees. I was so disgusting because I was worried about being cold inside, because I had to now say, well, it'll be like cold inside. So I should have worn layers. That would have been a thing. But I have this long list of neurodivergent reasons. I can't wear dresses or skirts because I don't like, my skin can't like touch other skin because that bothers me. And shorts are also like I just, because of the deep vein thrombosis, I had one of my legs look crazy, so I can't wear shorts. It's a whole thing of why I was like sweating to death. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out if I have symptoms of heat stroke. And this lady looks kind of my direction, but there were a lot of people there. And she says, "Oh, I didn't realize you had an 8th grader." And I'm just like, halfway comatose. I'm like, I just don't respond. I'm staring straight ahead. And she says, "Jen," and we're 2 feet away from each other. By the, she was like not the next person in line in front of me, but the next. I mean, we're very close to each other. And she's like, "Jen, I didn't know you had an 8th grader." I'm very bad with faces. I did not recognize her. Totally on me. This is something I inherited from my father. We cannot recognize people. I mean, it used to drive my mother crazy when the 3 of us would watch movies together. My dad and I would always be like, "Wait, is that the villain? Is that the same guy?" She'd be like, "What are you talking about? This is like Tom Cruise and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, how do you not know? How can you not tell the difference between these 2 people?" So it was a lot. So I'm very, very bad with faces. And so I just didn't recognize who this was. It turns out it's my son's friend's mom who I'd met multiple times. But so already I'm startled and I'm like, oh, I should have known who she is. I love her. She's lovely. I'm just very bad with faces. And so I was like, oh, yes. And yeah, and you have an 8th grade. And so then I was like, I need to explain the fact that I didn't recognize her. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. Like, I'm really sick today. See, I wasn't, but I just have mild allergies, but my brain was fritzing out and I felt really bad. And so I blurted out, "I'm really sick." And I was like sweating and turning bright red, and so everyone kind of takes a step back, because it does look like I'm in the throes of like COVID and Ebola. I mean, it looked really bad when they're like, "She is really sick," and it's like, no, I can't have the skin on my legs touch together, and like that's why I'm not wearing a skirt and I'm wearing these really heavy jeans, and then the heavy blazer is because so I looked deeply ill, like I don't have much time left, but that's just for other reasons. So I was like, I'm really sick. And then I noticed that everyone is staring at me like, why did you come to this event if you're going to get us all sick? And so I was fumbling to take off my glasses because I thought maybe I could say that's why I didn't recognize her. Like, these crazy glasses, like as if you can't see through sunglasses. I don't know. But then I dropped the glasses. So here's where the coffee gets spilled. I lean over and this poor lady, she just was like, "Oh, I didn't realize you also have a child in 8th grade." Like, that's all. She did not mean to get roped into this. And so I dropped the sunglasses. So I lean forward to pick them up, and the lid comes off of my coffee thermos and it spills everywhere. Now, the reason the lid was off is because I'm sensitive to temperatures in coffee and I didn't want it to be too hot. So I had undone the lid because I didn't want to burn my tongue. But I forgot that the lid was off. And so the coffee spills on me. It splashes on the people who, luckily not too much because they had moved away from me because I said I was, quote unquote, really sick. So there I am. I am beet red. I am sweating. I have yelled out that I'm very sick. And I just spilled coffee on myself and on other people and dropped my sunglasses and didn't recognize this lady that I've met multiple times. I was going to pose the question, like, is this a normal interaction or am I just very neurodivergent? But now that I hear myself say it, I think, you know what, I think we actually have the answer on that one. But I want you to know, this is what it is like to be me at every moment in my life. I'm surprised by everything. I'm always like at the wrong temperature for some reason, even though I tried very hard to be like at a different temperature that I currently am. Okay, so here's the second time I spilled coffee. I was at my other kid's school, and so this goes back to the AirPod thing. So I had the AirPod in. The event had not started. For the record, the event had not started, and so I'm just listening to an audiobook, but I guess I had the volume turned up too high because I didn't hear that they were starting the event. Now, this is a Catholic school. So they start the event with a prayer. And I was sitting on the back row, of course, because I am a back row kind of parent. It's like for other people's safety. It's not that I'm not checked in. It's that I'm going to do something crazy and you guys, I want to keep you out of it. So I always sit on the back row. And I was on like there was even some space, like way back. So I'm just like into my audiobook, and suddenly everyone stands up and turns to face me. And I'm like, what did I do? Like this, because the way my life goes, I'm like, did they call me out? Because I didn't hear anything, because I had noise cancellation on too. And by the way, it's in a high school gym where there are teenagers on either side of me. So, and I'm like on the edge. So the kids on that side could very clearly see me. And I'm just like, are they like, look at this bad woman with her AirPods in? And so everyone stands up. So I take out my AirPods, like I'm dropping them because I'm trying to get them out. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, it's a prayer and the cross is at the back of the room. Oh, I get it. Okay. So I stand up, but then I'm facing everyone, which is weird. So I turn around, drop my AirPod. I'm trying to grab the AirPod. And that is when I kicked over the coffee. And on a gym floor, man, you'd be shocked at how far coffee can spread on a high school gym floor. I mean, they really waxed that floor. It was very smooth, and the coffee just keeps going and going. And I look up, and all of these teenagers are just kind of glaring at me like, what is her problem here? And of course, one of my children was like right there, like, we should pray for that woman. She looks like she really has a problem, like definitely does not want to know me. So then I had to run up and go to the bathroom and like get all these towels, and I'm like on my hands and knees wiping up the gym floor. Because Caitlin, would you have cleaned it up before or after the event?
Oh, it depends. I would probably do it almost immediately, because I would be thinking about like, what if somebody walked through it or something stupid?
See, well, that's not stupid. I think it, and see, I'm tracking with you on that. That's what I thought. But what I didn't think is like, I mean, I'm very tall, guys, and all of my height is in my legs. So there's no squatting down for me. If I ever squat down in like a squatting position, I have to stay that way for the rest of my life. There's no getting up. I can't just like lean over like you cute petite people can do, like, oh, just squat down and do a little. No. I can't. I'm too tall. My legs are too long. And so after I get all of these paper towels, I'm like, well, the only way I can clean this up is like on my hands and knees. And again, I have a half of a gym full of high school kids. I'm right on the edge. I sat on the very edge. That's another neurodivergent thing. I have to sit on the edge. Like I feel very claustrophobic if people are blocking me. So I'm right on the edge. You know, I'm pale. I'm 6 feet tall, red hair. I don't like totally blend in. I was wearing all black, and so I'm just on my hands and knees, and the coffee kept like spreading further out. You guys should also know, some of you guys know who the radio host Catherine Whitaker was at this event. You should, even if you don't know who she is, you should look her up on Instagram. Team Whitaker is her Instagram handle. I've told you about her before. She's the one that her house is so perfect that someone who was looking at my pictures like thought it was my house and thought I should delete all the pictures of my actual house. They were like, I don't know if you minister at this crack house, but you should really delete all those pictures. Catherine is actually kind of known for her domestic perfection. And I need you to know she was 4 rows in front of me. She did not see this happen because she was in front of me, but I just kind of glanced over at her as I was on my knees cleaning up this coffee that kept like moving away from me. High school paper towels are not super absorbent, actually, as I found out. And I'm like on my hands and knees cleaning up this coffee, and then what do you do with the wadded up dripping, you know? And I just looked over at Catherine and I was like, but why doesn't this happen to other people? Because the logic, to me, I see how I got there. It's like, well, yeah, you have to listen to something while you're waiting. What am I going to do? Sit in a gym and do nothing while I wait for the event to start? I had to, be learning something, be moving forward in some way. And of course it would be startling if a whole gym full of people stand up and face you and you don't know why. And you're trying to get in line and you kick over your coffee. Like what? Why doesn't this happen to you, Caitlin? Like, what would you, I guess, you wouldn't have had AirPods or something?
I might not have had the AirPods, but I would say that stuff like that happens to me quite often.
Okay, well then maybe that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so for that, leave a comment on YouTube. Like, well, I genuinely, it's like, I see what a mess I am, but then I'm also like with the spilling the coffee. I mean, I guess someone else, with what happened at the other event, I mean, I guess it would have started, they would have recognized the person. So it just stops there. Like the chaos stops there. They'd be like, oh, Cheryl, so good to see you. Yes, we love having Caleb over. Yes, I have an 8th grader as well. And there's no, and they would have been wearing like a nice summer dress. And, there would be no heat stroke, spilling coffee, like dropping sunglasses, saying you're sick. Like, so yeah, I guess that one I see. But I was like, how do other people not end up on their hands and knees in front of a gym full of teenagers cleaning up coffee at the end of your event? That one, I don't understand how you guys aren't always in situations like that, because I always am. Like this is my whole life. This is every day of my life. All right, listen. We're going to talk about guilt, but episode 90 of the Village Hustle Patreon, I was faking some photos that will be out very publicly, and I brought you guys into this. I didn't get some photos I needed for publicity at an event, and I was like, let's just set up a green screen in my trashed bedroom. And what's so funny is you're going to see these pictures out publicly, and I will look probably pretty legit. And Village Hustle Patreon members will know that was in her trashed, cluttered bedroom. Actually, that picture was taken. And I showed you how to tell the real ones that were taken at the actual event from the fake ones, because I'm holding something that's very hard to see. It's like a little Easter egg. So my Patreon has 2 levels, the basic level, and then there's a second level, which we call Village Hustle. And it's on that. And that is episode 90. And it just came out on Monday. So you get instant access right now. You can watch that video and see me faking those photos that I think will end up looking pretty legit. Yeah, I really am kind of a mess. Okay. So the main topic. Okay. I would like to help you guys feel guilty in the right way. There is absolutely a place for guilt, for remorse, but especially when it comes to parenting or things with your family, or for those of you who don't have kids, just, the things that really, really matter to you in life. Ironically, I think we handle situations where we did something wrong with the people we love the most. We handle those situations the most poorly because we care so much that it triggers our fight or flight response. And then the amygdala has taken over. So your rational, your highest self, whatever you want to call it, like your best self, you can't put your best foot forward when your amygdala has taken over, because that's the part of the brain that gets triggered in emergency situations. Like if you're standing in line for your kid's school event and there's this mess woman dressed in all black, sweating, looks like she has Ebola, announces she's sick and spills coffee on you, that's like your amygdala would be like, I'm in danger, I have to get out of here. And so that's, like if you're running from someone who's trying to mug you, that's an example of like, that is not a time for rational, like, well, how would my best self react? No, it is pure primal, terror. And so the amygdala tends to put you in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. Some people are now bringing up fawn, and I do that too. It's like people pleasing, like you just get extra, extra, extra nice when you're stressed out. And it's funny, I think that is actually what led me to say I was really sick. Like that was my fawning, like I'm trying to remedy what I have done here by not recognizing this woman. But let's just say fight, flight, freeze to keep it simple. What can happen, especially in parenting, when you do mom guilt the wrong way, or dad guilt the wrong way, is you trigger your amygdala, And then you end up in one of these fight or flight responses. And I'm going to talk mostly about freeze because that's what I tend to do. But you'll know you're more of a fight person if, like, my mother-in-law, like, you just like went to Kohl's to use your Kohl's cash and somehow you ended up, in a yelling argument with 3 different people. You know that you might be in like a fight response. Like, you're just agitated and just flipping out at people. And, that's your nervous system is probably overloaded. You are in a state of funds, fired up nervous system. So, here is why this matters, and matters a lot. And getting this right will make parenting so much easier for you. Because I've been working on this the past 3 years or so. And I will say that it has made me so much of a better parent. And it has made me be able to handle some of the more serious things that we've faced. And did I not, Caitlin, recently, 2 days ago, faced something pretty serious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we've, for my kids' privacy, I won't like air our dirty laundry, but just know, guys, that we've seen it all in this house. We've seen it all. And being able to react to difficult things as your best self and not in an amygdala funds state makes an enormous difference. I would say it makes all the difference in parenting. And no matter what stage of life your kids are in, because I used to, like, when my kids were little, I constantly had this negative, unprocessed mom guilt that would lead me to, I was in the freeze response so much, but you can't freeze, you can't go withdraw, you can't hibernate when you have little kids and you're the only one looking after them. So, my nervous system was jacked to the moon and back when my kids were little. I was a mess. And a lot of it was this guilt-based, like, I just felt so bad. I wasn't being the mom that I wanted to be, but I wasn't processing the guilt the right way. And it led me to have just a destroyed nervous system. And then definitely with teens, because teens can like give you feedback on how you're doing, which can make then you feel that guilt in that direction. And again, if you go into this freeze response, it's not helpful to anyone, but that is what you will do if you don't know how to process this. So one of the things I learned I did 3 years of mental health research, so you don't have to. And in 2022 alone, if you go back to those podcast episodes, I think I saw 8 different therapists of all types, everyone from a PhD psychiatrist to a hippie who did the emotional freedom technique, the tapping. Oddly enough, the least qualified people helped me the most. The tapping hippie helped me like way more than the psychiatrist. So anyway, but I've seen professionals of all different levels of accreditation, from Ivy League, PhDs to, like the Boulder School of Crystals. And here's the bottom line on what I've learned. With all intense emotions, both positive and negative, but speaking here on this topic, especially with the emotion of guilt, when you realize maybe the decisions you've made or the way you're showing up in your family, maybe it's really not that great, and you're not just being hard on yourself, like it's not good, the situation, or maybe it was one decision you made, or just how you've been showing up generally. When that feeling comes up, that bad feeling, it is so painful as moms, because obviously just there's nothing that you care about in the universe, like not even close. There's not even a distant second compared to your love for your children and your desire to do well by them. And so when you have that feeling of, I think I'm not doing a good job for my children, you want to run away from it, like so badly. You want to shut it down. You want to go do something else, think about something. Like, you don't want to sit with it. And so what can happen is we end up in one of the fight, flight, or freeze response. And I think for most of us, it is freeze. We kind of shut down and we get low energy. That's when you can start to have physical symptoms like fatigue. Suddenly you need a nap like no one has ever needed a nap before. You have that carrying around a weighted blanket feeling. You want to just scroll Instagram, scroll TikTok. I actually think this is a lot of what drives us to constantly want to check our phones is you're trying to escape something. And I think a lot of what you're trying to escape is this guilt that is too painful to feel. Like you're afraid of what it would be like to actually sit with that. It would be like, in Dune, the movie that I couldn't follow at all, but liked lots of epic visuals. I had no idea what was going on, even though I'd read the book. I read the book cover to cover. Somehow I didn't know what was going on in the movie, but there's and I've referenced this before, where the guy has to put his hand in the pain box. Are you familiar with this visual? No. Okay, great. This is super relatable. Timothée Chalamet has to put his hand in this box, and it's like the worst pain that you've ever felt in your life. And if you can stand having your hand in that box, then again, I didn't really follow the movie, but it's like the old witch lets you be king or something. I don't know. I can't believe I read this book and I still, but anyway, but I often think of that as his hand is in this box and he's a great actor. So it is, you're just, this is so hard. And it's like the worst pain known to man when you put your hand in the pain box. That's how it feels to sit with mom guilt. That's how it feels to be like, I'm not going to resist this. And I'm actually going to sit with this and let this feeling expand however it needs to expand. And I'm not going to run from it. What happens when you do that is that your body doesn't go into these fight or flight distractions. You're not running metaphorically from this scary thing. And then you can handle the situations better. This is why it matters. And this is what I have learned in the past 3 years. We have had a variety of very tricky situations to deal with. And you'll find as your kids get older, whether they say little people, little problems, big people, big problems. I mean, I don't know. To me, everything's easier than having little kids. So it's all great to me once they're ages 5 or older. But it is, definitely there are some much more complex problems with much more potential long-ranging implications when your teenagers face challenges. And in order to navigate these waters well, it's really best if you can show up as your most calm, most trusting in God, peaceful, highest self. But you can't do that if you're so afraid of like the guilt and shame that you feel, that you're like running, you're running from it, you're distracting, you're scrolling social media. Like you can't sit with that feeling. Let me give you an example. I can't go into details, and I was trying to think of an example that I could give you more details, but this is the best one because it's, in my mind, it's the best example. So I'm going to have to be super vague, but stick with me on the main points because that's what matters. One of my kids had something difficult going on, and I took an action to remedy it. I was like, well, this is how it's going to be. We're doing this. After I took that action, a few hours later, I realized that was actually a big mistake. Like that was a big, like the kind of thing this kid could still be talking about in 10 years kind of mistake. Like that wasn't the right reaction. And it's significant. And it was the kind of reaction that is hard to undo. I had made a choice for us that is hard to undo. And again, I'm sorry I'm being vague, but the emotional movements here are what matters. So this was a few months ago. So I had been doing this, the journal speak work, the letting your feelings expand work, the not running from your emotions work. And so I was in my room, I sat down on the side of my bed, and I felt I just cannot tell you the guilt, the self-condemnation that I felt so bad about the decision that I had made. And then I felt even worse about the fact that it's not something that I could just like say sorry. And it's a decision I made that would be difficult to reverse. And so I just let the feelings expand. I let them wash over me. I just felt the full weight of them. I didn't add to them. I was not like, you're the worst. Oh, you suck. Like, but I just sat with it and I did not run from it. And I just let it be there, all those negative feelings. And then I just kind of had this moment of, and I've been trying to do this with all intense emotions that come up. Like, I'm turning this over to God. Like, I can handle this pain. I got my hand in the pain box, like in that scene in Dune that I didn't understand. But I do know, like, there was a box and there was pain, and like that visual really stuck with me. And like I'm willing to put my hand in the pain box and feel it so that it can move through me, and so that I can get past this and not run from this and not be in fight or flight. And when I did that, afterwards, like I asked God to show me. I was like, it doesn't seem like there's a resolution here. It feels like this is kind of a permanent decision that I have made that will have serious repercussions, that is bad. And I don't see a way out. Once I was in my, higher self, connected to God, open to inspiration state, not in fight, flight, freeze, amygdala going crazy, cave woman running from a bear state, I realized I found like a third option, like something I'd never thought of that would be a little tricky. It would require me to push in ways that I'm not used to pushing, but I was like, I can do it. I can get us out of this. And I did, and it was resolved, and like everything was good. And I was able to go to that kid and have a really good conversation with them, where I was openly able to say like that, here is why I made that decision, but I see now it was the wrong decision. And here is how I'm going to get us out of that. And I did, but it was hard. It was hard to get us out of that. And it required a lot of energy from me to really push and like make phone calls I did not want to make. And again, you guys know how non-confrontational I am. I had to be confrontational with people and push and just make myself very uncomfortable to get this done. And I would not have been able to do that if I had let that guilt consume me, and if I had run from that guilt and put myself in that fight or flight mode. If this same situation had played out like 4 years ago, here's what would have happened. So I make the decision. I realize that this was actually a big mistake. This was a big mistake that I just made. But I wouldn't have even fully let myself realize it. I would have gotten defensive. Like, well, what was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? I mean, this was like my bet. I don't know. It was a crazy situation. This was just foisted on me. And I would have gotten defensive. And then mentally I would have run from it. I would have been like, well, I'm going to text someone and I'm going to complain to my husband about how crazy this is. And like, this is just a crazy situation. And I'm so mad about this. And I would have, done all my usual distractions. Complaining to my husband, like maybe texting Caitlin and venting or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe if I was drinking at the time, I might have made a drink, eating, scrolling social media. I mean, I would have run from it. And I would have had unexplained fatigue. Like, gosh, why do I have a migraine headache? Like, why do I feel this fatigue? Not realizing that my body is trying to escape the guilt that I'm trying not to feel. And I dang sure wouldn't have resolved it, because first of all, the creative solution that I truly believe was given to me by God, you have to be open to hearing the prompts of the Holy Spirit. You have to be open to letting God speak to you. And if you are in fight or flight, running from your emotions that you will not allow yourself to feel, it's hard for God to reach you. You're just not listening. And so first of all, I wouldn't have even had that creative solution for how to get out of this. But even if I had, by some miracle, like God sends me a flaming sign in the sky, like, listen, here's a solution, do this. Because it required a lot of energy for me, because it took me way out of my comfort zone, honestly, I don't think I would have had the energy. because I would have been consumed by that heavy, weighty feeling that comes when you're running from your mom guilt. And another, this is a much shorter example. A few years ago, one of my daughters like gave me some feedback about an element of her childhood. It's like a big choice we made for her as a kid. And she was like, I think I have legit, some kind of like trauma for that. Like, it's not like, this is not good. It really impacted me negatively and it made me feel this way and that way. I felt so bad about it. I actually wanted to vomit. Again, as a mom, you're like, you hate to hear that. And I had the temptation, and it's funny, I always said I wouldn't be this mom, but I had the temptation to kind of clap back at her and be like, no, that's not how it was. Like that. No, I don't remember it that way. No, you're being emotional. Like you're not remembering it the right way. Cause what I did was I everything within me wanted to shut her down. It's again, fight or flight. Like I became a different person. And what's funny is in this case, it was kind of fight, not freeze that came up. And that is a fight response. If one of your kids is like, hey, what you did made me feel frankly kind of like neglected, or it made me feel really hurt, or it made me feel like you don't care about me. When you immediately shut them down and start arguing, that's your fight response. In this case, it's not freeze, but everything within me wanted to shut her down and be like, no, that's not that. I wouldn't do that. Like you're saying that I would hurt you. No, I didn't hurt you. Like I don't even remember it that way. But because this was early in my feeling my feelings journey, I sat there, put my hand in the dune box, put my hand in the pain box, and I was like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm just going to let her talk. And I'm going to listen, and I won't go into fight, flight, or freeze. I'm rejecting all of that. I'm just going to be present. And we had a good conversation where I was calmly able to say, I have a little bit different memory of that, but it doesn't mean that your memory is wrong. It's just, I want you to know, obviously I would have talked to you about this sooner if I had remembered it the way you did with, this negative outcome for you. So I just want you to know, I didn't remember it that way. And I also recognize, it's good that she's telling me this. I mean, obviously there's a certain level of closeness and trust that this would even come up. And just being able to feel those feelings and not go into fight, flight, or freeze. Another thing I was tempted to do is we were in the car at the time, and it was tempted to be like, we don't have time for that. Like, I've got to cook dinner. So, listen, talk to me about this later. I've got to go get dinner on the table. That would be flight. Or if I just numbed out and like hardly said anything, that would be freeze. But because I was able to just feel it as painful as it was, and not run from it and not be sent into, a survival response, it actually ended up being a great conversation. It had a good resolution. It's like, it's all fine now. Like we totally resolved it. But if I had let fight, flight, or freeze take over, I think it would have, I think to this day, we would still have like pain and unspoken resentment about that situation. So here's the bottom line. As usual, just gems right at the end of the podcast. Those of you guys who listen to the end, like this is, you always get just the best stuff. Here's the bottom line. I think the difference between negative guilt, when people dismissively talk about Catholic guilt, that negative kind of guilt that shuts you down and sends you into fight, flight, or freeze. I think the difference between healthy guilt and negative guilt is with the negative guilt response where you're running from it, you don't want to feel it, you are letting it impact your self-worth. It's like this kid is saying that in this era of our family journey, I was not the mom that she needed me to be. And allowing yourself to feel that, but not let it impact your self-worth. Like not take it to like, therefore I'm not worthy of life. I'm not worthy of being the mother of these children. I am the worst. I'm a worm in the dirt. I'm just the absolute worst. To not go there, to be able to sit with that feeling, put your hand in the dune box, let it expand, but also know you are okay as a person. You're even okay as a mom. This is not about your self-worth. This is about a mistake. Your mistake caused harm. And it's it's like you are okay as a person. Your self-worth is still fully intact. God still loves you. You are worthy of life. You are worthy of being these kids' mother. You're okay. Everything's okay. That can be true. And you can also let yourself feel this feeling. I'm very sorry this happened. I'm very sorry that I did this and it had this impact. And I'm feeling that, but I am not letting it impact my self-worth. Because it's when you start, it's like when your primal brain starts to sense that you're feeling, like you're not worthy of life, you're not worthy of being part of this family and this tribe, that's when you go into fight, flight, or freeze. So just make sure that you're feeling the feelings, you're letting the guilt, the mom guilt, whatever, expand. Don't run from it. Don't be afraid of it. But also know that this is not connected to your self-worth. This is not connected to your inherent worth as a mother or as a person. It's simply a mistake you made, a little moment of imperfection, and you're letting yourself feel the results of it, but you're not letting it make you question your worth as a mom or as a person. Try doing that and watch how much more energy you have. Watch how much more energy you have as a mother to deal with all of the crazy stuff that comes up in life. Another fine episode. Here, you'll have more energy to be part of my live chat for my comedy special on June 5th, Thursday, June 5th. We'll do a live chat. It's going to be so much fun. This special is called Shabby Chic. It's on my YouTube channel. Check the show notes, see if you can see this episode on YouTube, and follow my channel while you're there. And we will be back next week with another fine episode of The Jen Fulwiler Show.